Hello, welcome back. Yay! This is probably one of my favorite times of the year. It's Christmas, it's the winter festivities, and I'm super excited. So, welcome back, guys. As you come into the room, please do me a favor and just drop where you're joining us from, what state, what atmosphere, out of space, wherever you're joining us from. Go ahead and drop it in the chat for me. Welcome, welcome. Let's see who's in the room. Hi, Amanda. Hi, April. Hi, Elise, Ariel, Ashley, Leah. Hey, guys. Good morning. Good morning. I'm super excited you guys could join us today. Well, you guys are really, really smart. You know where to spend your time. Fantastic. Go ahead and drop in the chat. I don't know why I'm not seeing people. Let me see. There we go. I gotta put everyone. Hey, Heather from Oklahoma. We just had a bunch of people trained in Oklahoma. Yay! Sorry, Natalie is sick. Hi, Casey Lynn. Hello, guys. As you come in, go ahead and drop where you're joining us from. I am so glad to know that I am not the only person that still needed this, who needs today's information. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I've been really counting down the days until this workshop because I am trying not to lose my mind while as I prepare for Christmas. So, hey, Erica Jones. Hi, Norma. Hi, Jennifer. Hey, we got Melody and Kankakee. I love it. Kankakee is like right next to me. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Heather. Oh, no, Casey is in Portland. Okay. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to Enhancing and Empowering Our Conversations for Positive Change by Be Strong Families. Super excited to see you today. Next slide, Lori. So, as you know, for most of you guys know, if you're new, I'm going to go over this really quickly. This is how we engage here during the webinar. If you want to come online, on camera and speak, just raise your hand and we'll ask you to unmute yourself. When you drop comments in, make sure that it's going to everyone. If you don't hit that little carrot to make sure it's going to everyone, it's just going to go to us, the hosts and the panelists. So you want to make sure you hit everybody. And then please be patient with us. We are expecting 50 people today. I hope we get more than 50, but we are expecting 50 today. And so please be patient with us. We're trying to answer as many questions as we can. Next slide. And then, as a way to keep our conversation safe, as emotionally safe, and to encourage people to lean into the conversations today, we have these fantastic agreements. And they are speaking on experience using I statements. As you share, your experience has value and it's important. So share your own experience. Okay. Don't talk about the experience of others because it isn't yours to share. Focus on the me, not the we. And then follow the golden rule. This is really all of our cafe agreements wrapped into one where we're not giving advice and we're not judging people. And what happens here stays here. Yes, I do know we're recording on YouTube. However, we want to be mindful that we want this to be a safe space where you can share. And people aren't seeing your comments on YouTube. Okay. And then please be fully present. You could be doing a whole bunch of stuff. Like you could be eating. You feel free to grab you some lunch. You could be doing that, but this is not the time for social media and for you working because otherwise you're going to miss all these great tips that our presenter has for us today. So please no multitasking. And then if you need a minute, take a minute and come back and we'll be right here. If you are picking up what I'm putting down today, do me a favor and just put agree in the comments. Okay. So we can move forward. Just put I agree, agree, and then we can keep this baby moving because I'm excited. Our presenter is excited. Yes, I love it. Yes, 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 yes. Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. So I feel safe. I agree. Mariska, do you agree? Okay. Then we got gold. All right. So today, our presenter. We are here for happy holidays, how to get through the holidays with your finances intact. I thought this was a fantastic topic for our family, our Be Strong Families family, for you guys, because I don't know if anybody else feels like I feel every Christmas, every holiday, during this time of the year, I am like pulling my hair out, trying to figure out what to, what to do and how not to end up broke in January. And so maybe somebody else needs to hear how to do that too. So with us again, returning is Mariska Reinerink, and I'm super excited to have her. If you were with us in October or November, October,
November. Yeah, I think it was.
yeah, we had a fantastic time. She's back again to grace us with her presence. If you missed it, you can find her last presentation on our YouTube channel, where this will be also streaming. And then, guys, we have her coming back in the new year as an Institute workshop presenter. So please take everything you can from Mariska's fantastic presentation today and yeah, let it bless your whole soul. All right, I'm going to turn it over. And I'm Sarita Sashton. For you guys who don't know, I'm Sarita Sashton, Director of Engagement and Program Initiatives here at Be Strong Families. And I'm going to turn it over to Mariska.
All right, thank you so much. And I think we're just gonna switch over to sharing. So, nope, not that one. This one. No, hang on a second. Hang on, that's the wrong screen. This is the one that we want, so that you don't have to see all my stuff in the chat on the screen. So hello, everybody. I can't see you, but I see in the chat that you're there. I'm so excited to see where everybody's coming from. And yes, we will be talking about how to get through your holidays with your, initially I called it with your credit card intact, but really it's with your finances intact. And it's to look at the practical impact of your relationship with money. And I'm all about relationship with money. I am. I'll introduce myself in a minute. But there's more to money than we think. Now, there are many holiday celebrations in December, and they're coming up. Christmas is coming up. You guys already had Thanksgiving and lovely Black Friday and everything, and Cyber Monday. And even if you, but what I see with all these holidays is there's a financial impact as well. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Even if the holiday, even if how you celebrate the holidays doesn't include gifts or spending, you're still going to be impacted by what you see around you and all the ads. And we were just talking before the chat that there's already Valentine's stuff in the stores now. Like it seems to be ramping up quite a bit. So it's important to see what the impact can be, and that's what I'm gonna take you through. Now, heads up for those of you listening through speaker, we and have little ones at home, we will be talking about Santa. So make sure you switch to headphones or listen to the recording, or at least maybe I'll give you a warning when the Santa conversation comes up, just so you know and it's not catching you off guard. Now, I'm going to, so let me turn off my video here. Like Sarita was saying, be patient with us as we're trying to get all the tech going. So, who am I to be talking to you about this? And you can't see my camera here. Oh, well, you know what I look like. So I am my name is Mariska Reinerink. I'm a holistic financial planner and a money and business coach. And, I do all those things listed there, but it's not so much about the titles. Really, the long and short of it is that I've been working in finance for over 20 years. And for much of that, I've been working the traditional way. However, I continue to see in my clients and myself that there's so much more to money than just numbers. We have beliefs about money, we have fears, emotions, and certain patterns as well that just don't get addressed in a traditional way where it's all about numbers, right? So I took what I used to be a physiotherapist and did all kinds of complementary therapies, and then 20 years of financial services. And now I've blended that together to really look at the human side of money. And then I connect that with the practical side of money. So, as with many things on the human side of money, awareness is the first step. So, I hope that what we're going to talk about today, you know, what drives holiday shopping, that you'll start to recognize your own patterns. And then in that moment, you have awareness and you can ask yourself, is this really what you want? Is this really, you know, the most helpful way of looking at this right now? Or do you really need to buy this thing? So it becomes a choice rather than a subconscious pattern. Now, I'd love for this to be interactive. There's quite a few online, so any questions, throw it in the chats. Rita's going to keep an eye on the chat as well, and then we'll have some time for Q&A as well at the end. And I hope you have a piece of paper handy so that if you have any aha moments, write them down because then they sink in better as well. And this session will be recorded so you can always listen again. Now, I'm going to try this again, turning my video off because I should be, no, somehow it wasn't working as well as it did in the test. So I'm going to keep my video.
Fine.
Sarita, do you want to turn your camera off just a sec, just in case that's
Sure.
was there we go. That's what I wanted. Apparently that was the little hitch. So what is it about this time of year that has such an impact on our finances and our credit cards? Like I see it showing up in things like expectations from our kids, from family, from ourselves, from media, and being bombarded by the sales. You know, there was Black Friday already. There was Cyber Monday. There will be Boxing Day. So you've already had some of these. So remember, how did you feel with that? And put it in the chat. How did that feel to be bombarded by all these things? Did you feel that excitement of, ooh, all these things are on sale? Like you often see these clips on social media about these, you know, masses of people pushing into the store to get the best deal. So we'll talk about the impact that that has on your body as well. And like I was saying earlier, the sales seem to start earlier every year. So now we're already seeing Valentine's, but normally Boxing Day sales are already showing up before Christmas, not even after Christmas. And all these sales have emotions tied to it. Emotions like generosity and excitement, yes, but also you may be feeling like you have to spend more than you can afford in order to meet those spoken or unspoken expectations from your kids or family, or there might be a rebellious feeling like, well, I've worked hard all year, so I'm going to buy what I want. I'm going to treat myself because I'm not going to limit myself. I'm just going to do it. Or there may be denial, like, I can't really afford these things, but I have to. So whatever, I'll figure it out in January. When I was still fully in financial services, that was the time where January was the time where most of the insurance payments bounced because, you know, people had spent more than they could, and or visa bills were coming in and suddenly people were in debt. And then of course there's guilt, feeling that we maybe deprive our kids if we don't have presents for them, not wanting your kids to go without. Did I touch on some ones? Like, can you recognize these or can you think of any other ones? Let me just pull up the chat here. So I'm seeing, so for YouTube, you can't see the chat. So I'm tempted at look at items online. Yeah, absolutely. Overwhelmed by not wanting to be tempted to use credit cards. Yes. Felt a rush. Every sale makes me excited. Okay, we're gonna talk about that. And so that's gonna be cool. Um, I've been as excited this year as I have in the past. I wasn't interested in going shopping on Black Friday. I'm just not feeling it this year. Yeah. And then somebody actually saying, honestly, it didn't even seem like there were really any good sales this year, which bummed me out because I was hoping to get Christmas gifts and didn't end up being able to anyways. Yeah, and actually that's really good. We'll talk about that as well, to take sales and put them to their best use. So lots of emotions coming up as well already, which has a big impact on our bodies. Now, I don't know who of you saw my last webinar. I talked a lot more about the body, mind, and money connection. I will repeat it though, and if you want to know more about it, just go watch the replay for the other one. But what happens with stress? And I think holiday stress is by far it's one of the more stressful times for a lot of people. So what happens when we experience stress is that our body releases cortisol, a hormone called cortisol. And long story short, it's in the other video, what can happen then if we have prolonged exposure to cortisol, then other hormones go down. And in the end, we may not feel so great. We might start to get depressed and feel all blah, and then throw a winter time in there as well with less light. And our bodies, or we, are going to look for ways to feel better. Well, then there's this lovely hormone called dopamine that does exactly that. It gives us this really quick boost and we feel fantastic. However, it doesn't last that long. And you know, one of the ways that we get dopamine, there are some healthy and unhealthy ways to get dopamine, but one of the ways that we're going to be talking about today is to go shopping, to spend money. When we spend money, when we buy something, there's a huge release of dopamine. So we might not feel so great, and we're going to go shopping and treat ourselves to something because we've had a bad day or we've had a really great day. And now we have this thing and we feel better. And somebody was already saying this, the rush, every sale makes me excited. That is dopamine. Dopamine is making you excited for, oh, I scored, I've got this thing. In a way, there's nothing wrong with it as long as it doesn't get out of hand, right? So now we've bought this thing and we feel great, but it didn't really address the problem of the stress to begin with. So a little bit later, whether it's a day later or a week later, that dopamine is long gone. And now we're back to feeling blah because that dopamine and buying that gift didn't actually solve the problem that we were having around the stress. It didn't relieve our stress, or it didn't deal with the cause of the stress. You see what I mean? So what we might do then is go buy some more. Now, I talk a lot more about that in the last webinar, but focused on holiday shopping, it's really that dopamine that can just take our credit card for a ride. And they've done studies, they're functional MRI studies, so they're actually looking at what happens to our brain when certain questions get asked. It's super fascinating. And what they found is that when we buy something, there's a huge release of dopamine. But when we buy something on sale, our brains just light up like Christmas trees, pun intended, because we release even more dopamine when we feel like we got something on sale, when we got a good deal. So see how that all fits in. And of course, the retailers know all about this, right? And the other part, just going back to the dopamine for a bit, when we're in that stress mode and relying on dopamine, the part of our brain that's in the driver's seat is not the part of our brain that regulates language, that regulates numbers, that regulates common sense or logic. So it's putting those two things together. We're going purely by what I call the primitive brain, reptilian brain, hugely sensitive to desire and greed and having things as well. So it's part of a survival mechanism. So putting all of that together and then putting the Christmas or the holiday shopping on top of it, it's just can really make it tough for people to not feel overwhelmed and to not overspend. And like I said, this is what retailers are counting on with all their massive advertising for Black Friday and Boxing Day. It's like, get it now, get it while it's on sale, and hurry, hurry, hurry. So we actually feel even more of a rush as well. So what are your thoughts about this? Like, do you recognize that sense of feeling that rush when you buy something and actually maybe in hindsight thinking, why did I even buy that? Like, what was I thinking? Now, so throw it into chat and we'll check it later. Now, all of this holiday shopping happens every year. So what can we do about it? What can we do to minimize the impact and take our power back? And to see Sarita's comment, I have a ton of shoes for that reason. Yes, that's exactly it. So I'll give you some tips on how to get around that. It's lovely to have shoes. And please hear me when I say, I am not saying you shouldn't buy anything. I'm just saying you should buy something for the right reasons. You will hear me say this quite a few times. So one tip that that can really help is do a reset. Now, what do I mean by that? I think every year we get pushed or feel pushed to spend more and more money during this time of year. Do you find that too? Like maybe 2 years ago you were spending, way less than you are spending these days. Now, I remember hearing an ad on the radio a couple of years ago when I still lived in Canada. And it was from a jeweler talking about these earrings. And what they said is, if you really love your wife or mom or girlfriend, can't remember, you should get her these beautiful earrings. They're only $799. I'm thinking, what is wrong? Like, since when it became Christmas in this case about spending that much money? Do you feel me? How is that? Where did that come from? Like mind you, I grew up in Europe and Christmas wasn't a big thing and Christmas gifts weren't a big thing. But even in North America, it seems to really the retailers really seem to push us into spending more or buy this new car. I'm thinking a car is not Christmas shopping material, or maybe that's just my personal opinion. Again, put it in the chat if you feel that cars and $800 earrings should be a normal thing for Christmas. But one of the things that's happening here on a behavioral level is a bias called anchoring. So this is where your decisions are influenced by a specific reference point. So if we use the example of the earrings for 799, our brain gets a bit stuck on that number, or it does. I mean, this is just an example. It's not just this one ad that's going to anchor you, but just stay with me here. So it kind of sets the bar. And even if we don't agree with it, and we might go, well, I'm not going to spend that much. I'm going to spend half that. You're still spending like almost $400 on earrings in that case, right? Whereas had the ad been, buy these beautiful earrings, they're only, I don't know, $50. that would have given, can you feel how that feels totally different as to then going out and buying earrings, that you're not feeling pulled towards spending into the hundreds of dollars? Do you kind of feel that? So, and then with that bar set at $7.99 in this example, if we don't spend that much, then we might feel guilty or inadequate again. And it's the same with haggling over prices. You know, the person who says the first number sets the bar. You can offer less, but it'll likely be relative to the price that they started with. Okay. So that's what's part of what's happening in the media, whether it's prices or pictures of Christmas trees with loads of presents. It sets the bar. It goes, you know, into our brain and it sets expectations. And what's also happening in this case with the anchoring is it's kind of telling us that if you love somebody, you spend money. And the more you love them, the more money you spend. So don't even get me started on that because it's not true. The whole all the work that I do and even the book that I wrote, it's all about taking those two things apart. Money does not define us. Money is not our self-worth does not equal our net worth. And how much money we spend on gifts for Christmas does not equal how much we love somebody. So I really, really hope you can hear me on that. Now, back to anchoring. We can't really stop this. It's just how our brain works. But if we become conscious of it, then we can be aware of it and question it. For example, coming back to the reset, what do you remember about holiday celebrations of when you were little? Well, let's say your Christmas, if that's a very common one with gifts. Do you remember any or any of the presents that you were given? What are your best memories around your holidays? Or do you remember spending time with family and having dinners and laughing? And of course, there's also our discussions and arguments sometimes, but do you remember the family time more? And you can even ask your kids, if your kids are older, boombox at 9 years old, so you do remember a present. But if you have kids, ask and they really go on about wanting this particular gift, but you find that they actually didn't even play with the gifts that you got them last year, have a conversation about that. So go back and see what really stuck with you and reevaluate for yourself what's important. So Norma's saying, my memories of Christmas were magical. So what made it magic, Norma? Like what, was it the gifts? And sometimes it's the unwrapping and the curiosity of, or the surprise of what's in the gift. So there's, you know, that's important to notice as well. So by doing this reset and at least reevaluating where you're at and what you're doing and how much of that is influenced by the media and by just more and more and more, by doing that reset, you can come back to what it is that you need to do, reevaluate what's important to you and your family. Because it'll help you take charge of that and celebrate the holidays with your family the way you want to, not how you're supposed to do it. You're taking your power back. You stop being at the mercy of the media and the expectations. So that's one tip. Now, let me just see in the chat. Don't remember gifts, but I do remember time with family. Yeah, right? We got a lot of presents and all family being together. So, oh, that was Norma who said it was magical. So again, so to unpack that a little bit more, was it the presents that made it magical or just the all being together? Erica is saying, I remember a few gifts, but I remember more the time spent with family, right? My dad was, Katie Lynn is saying, my dad always going to catch fresh clams and my mom making clam chowder Christmas Eve. Oh, that sounds really lovely. Ashley's saying, this is a bit of a tough one for me as the holidays never used to be good times, both in terms of lack of family time and presents for me growing up, which is probably why I want to overcompensate and make my daughter and soon to be son's holiday special. Yeah, that can be a tough one. But again, so think about before you set up new traditions, before you set up your own traditions, what makes it special, and is it the gifts? Because, and there's no right or wrong here. There's no judgment. It's only inviting you to ask yourself what works and what doesn't. Sarita saying stringing together cranberries to make gardens. Oh, that's lovely. Gardens for the Christmas tree. Norma's saying again, yeah, unwrapping all the presents and getting the toys you wanted. Okay, so there's definitely a connection for you between magic and getting the toys you wanted. Okay. Now, next, tip number 2 is, since we've talked about dopamine, turn it into an advantage. Of course, it's great to get a fantastic deal and pay less than the regular price. Like we all want to do, like, why not, right? Make your dollar stretch further. So that's not the problem. The problem is buying something you don't need or buying something to fix not feeling good or to make you feel better as a temporary fix, or buying something you don't have the money for right now. So in those cases, it doesn't work. But if you do need something and you have the money for it, then why not get it on sale, right? For example, like I needed a new laptop a couple of years ago around the end of the year. So I thought, great, I'll just find a great Boxing Day sale and waited for Boxing Day, bought it online. So I wasn't in the store tempted by all these other things either. And I got a great deal, got my new laptop, and I got the dopamine to boost. So yay, I felt super happy about it. So that's what I mean with turning it into an advantage. So how can we do that? Well, first, and actually this goes beyond the dopamine. So the first thing you can do is look at how much you want to allocate. What do you really want to spend on Christmas? Or what can you spend on Christmas? Without going into debt or without overspending or without regretting in January or realizing how much money stress you have in January because you spent too much in around the holidays. So do this from a place of non-judgment, and remember, it won't all if you're on the lower end of what you can spend, remember it won't always be like this. Next year things will be different, and especially if you work on your relationship with money. So come up with an amount, sort of calculate it a little bit, use that part of your brain that calculates, and come up with an amount and write it down. And if the amount is 0, then we'll touch on that, because that's also the reality for some people. If it's 0, we'll talk about that in a second. Next, when you feel calm and feel good, so again, no need for dopamine to come in and overcompensate or compensate, make a list of things that you want to buy over the holidays. Again, from a place of non-judgment, only what you want, not what you feel you have to. Taking away that guilt, looking at who do I need to buy presents for, what do I want to buy for them, and then putting those two lists together, putting the list and the amounts together, and consciously decide, without being exposed, without being in the store, consciously decide how much money you're gonna spend on, like how you're gonna buy things, which things you'll buy and where you're gonna allocate the money. Okay, you're with me so far? Then going back to the amount of money that you can spend, let's say it's, I don't know, I'm just picking an amount, $200. Then take that amount out in cash, ideally, especially if you don't do online shopping, or put it into a separate bank account. Like in Canada, I'm sure in the States too, you have all kinds of banks that don't charge fees. So open up a checking account for that, put the money in there, and only use that to pay for Christmas presents or for holiday shopping. Okay. This way,
Um,
you know exactly where you're at. Yeah.
I'm sorry. We have Latoya has her hand up.
Oh, okay. Yes, Latoya. Do you want to unmute yourself or are you in the chat?
Yeah, Latoya, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you? I remember last time we had this problem too, where people couldn't unmute, so hopefully it's not the case. Or write your question in the chat and then we'll answer it.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I don't know why it did that. It shouldn't have put me on there. I don't know why it did that. I'm just paying attention and listening. Everything that I've written up, I've put into the chat.
Okay,
Okay.
great. So your hand
Sorry
just
about that.
turned
Then
off accident.
it wouldn't let me unmute. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. It's all good. It's all
Thank you,
good.
Latoya.
So we were talking about putting that money into a separate account so you know exactly where you're at. Because again, that's one of my biggest pet peeves is nowadays we pay with cards and we are so unconscious of what we're spending. Half the time, I find this with my son too. If he bought something, I'm like, oh, how much was it? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I just paid for it. Like they don't get receipts or we're disconnected with the use of these cards. We're just swiping and away we go. We're not even consciously buying something. We're not consciously spending the money. We're not consciously receiving what we're paying for either. So by having that money separate or even better in cash, you actually see exactly where you're at. And it's not a surprise next month when your Visa bill comes in. Okay. So yes, cash is ideal, but I realize a lot of shopping is done online. So then you'll just have to have a separate,
Mariska,
a
can I
separate,
say something?
yeah.
I know this is I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is so common sense. Why don't I do this? Right? Why don't I take this out? Because I am very often as I'm shopping and I am using my card, right? And then I find myself, I hate pending. Do you know when stuff is pending and I don't know what's happening? And then I'm just like, no, how much did I spend? I think I'm keeping a record in my head, right? Like, okay, I spent that and I had this much set in there for that. And then by the time, a few days later when pending is up, I'm like, oh my God, is it gonna be like, am I gonna be good or am I gonna have to go, do something strange for a little change? This is
I love that.
this is this is too common sense. I think the rest of my Christmas shopping will be done with cash. Thank you. I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, fantastic. And okay, I hope we're okay for time. And not to make it too complicated, but if you do buy something with a credit card, it's possible. You can't pay with your debit card on Amazon, for example. Um, then move the money from your checking account onto your credit card right away. So then there's no issue with pending. There's no issue with a climbing balance, right? Then
Yeah.
you know exactly what's still in your account. Okay.
Yeah. I, I think Casey Lynn might be my spirit sister. She's just handing over $1 feels more expensive than swiping a card for $1.
Yeah, I love it.
I feel
And
you.
I talk about this in my course where we talk about having a happy list, or we talk about dopamine as well quite a bit. And if you really have the urge to go buy something, you have to buy something, then go to the dollar store. Because, then you can go crazy without really don't go to like a Nordstrom's or a super expensive department store, or go to Costco where you can take it back. Hopefully Costco's not listening because they might not like that. But that way it's not so permanent. You can get a bit of the
Yeah.
dopamine and then not be stuck with it
True.
forever. Um, so if you don't have any money, if you're like, yeah, you know what, this whole holiday shopping, I just can't. That's possible too. Again, no judgment. It does not mean you matter less. You are just as valuable and worthy as anybody else, everybody else. So in this case, if you don't, and I haven't told my whole story, but I've been through quite the roller coaster with money as well, and I have had very, very lean years when my son was younger. Um, so in those cases, then look at experiences or look at homemade things just to be able to um, still feel like you're giving or still feel like you're part of it and still can be part of it. So for example, maybe in that case, you can offer a night of babysitting for a friend or for your sister. Or with kids, maybe experiences like going to a day at the beach in the winter or going to the snow or going to another place that they love and like, but they can't go to very often because maybe you're busy. So if you have ideas about this too, please share them in the chat because then we can all benefit from that as well, right? Sorry, my insulin pump
Mariska,
is
if you don't mind, can I just share two really
yeah.
short ones?
Yeah.
So my daughter is super creative, and for Mother's Day one year, I have young adults, so they don't have a lot of funds. And she actually, my favorite thing is to have Starbucks. She knows I love coffee. So she got me up, like we live near a forest preserve. She got me up like super early in the morning, and she had my cup of coffee. She went and got Starbucks for me. And we went to the forest reserve and we waited for the sun to come up. But in the back of her truck, she'd put a bunch of blankets and pillows. So we sat in the back of her truck, listened to praise and worship music, drank our coffee, and watched the sun come up. And it just blessed my whole soul. I was like, oh my gosh. And it was $5 that she spent for, a cup of coffee. And then she was having a similar problem for Christmas. And I said, you don't have to buy anything. Remember, I said, you could write cards to everybody, letting them know how much you appreciate them or the impact you've had on your life. I said, and that is like priceless because how often do we get a chance to share with people how much they mean to us? I said, and to your siblings or to to your parent, to us, your parents, that's also, pretty cool. And another great idea is one year I got everybody to send my husband videos to tell him happy birthday. And it was a simple, like, hey, a shout out. And then I took the compilation and put it in YouTube. And it cost me absolutely nothing, but it had my husband like all emotional during that time. So I just wanted to share that because I was thinking
Yeah.
about some great
No,
experiences I've had.
that's fantastic. I love that video idea. And again, so now most people have a smartphone, so they get creative with it. Also, just Google holiday gift ideas that don't cost any money or something like that, or get ChatGPT to help you with that. So tip number 2, because I'm looking at the time. Tip number 3, sorry. Communication. So first of all, find out where the stress is coming from, because
Mhm.
I'm just going to assume there's going to be some holiday stress. Find out where the stress is coming from. For example, is it coming from expectations from your family? if that is the case, because I do hear whenever I've run these webinars, I do hear that a lot, that there's some family expectations and things, then have a conversation with your family about where you're at or what works and what feels, and finding a solution that works good and feels good for everybody. And since talking about money is often taboo and we avoid it, chances are that if you're the one opening up a conversation about this, like, hey, can we just regroup for a minute and just have a little chat about this? Chances are your family members might feel the same way, and everybody's like stressing out trying to spend money that they don't want to spend because maybe they want to do something else with it, or maybe they don't have it. And they might really welcome you actually breaking the ice and starting to talk about money, or starting to talk about the financial side of the holidays. So, and maybe they're totally up for setting a new tradition as well. Like, I've heard great ideas where families are now really going for experiences as a family. They're doing things, or they're going skating, or they're whatever, you know? So it's not just about the spending. Again, I'm not saying you can't spend any money. I'm saying it's all about spending without guilt or stress or denial or stretching further than you want to be stretched. Like, even if you have plenty of money, but you don't want to really spend all of it or a chunk of it on Christmas shopping, then don't. You know, be aligned with what you want to do and where your money's going. So, so we're gonna leave it at that. So we still have some time for Q&A at the end. So here are just some things that can help get the conversation going. So one of them is, you know, I want to take charge of my finances, and as part of that, I'm choosing not to spend much money on gifts anymore. So then you can say, well, can we come up with some different ideas that work for all of us? Or can we find another way to celebrate? And that way you're not saying, you don't want to go into the, well, I'm broke and I can't, because that doesn't feel good, right? Come from an empowered place. Like, you are you are the steward of your finances, and you have every right to speak up for yourself about that. And in this case, it's an I am choosing to do this. I'm asking, can we do something else? Or how does everybody else feel about this? And then see where you're at, see where everybody else is at too. Okay? That way you can get to actually enjoying and not being stuck with a financial hangover at the end of it. Okay, bye, Caitlin. And you get closer to a place of joy and freedom without creating financial hardship in the process. Okay, so there's the yes, but. So what about families, and particularly with little kids, about the whole Santa? Well, I'll separate it out between the Santa and no Santa discussion, because the kids might still have this expectation because of talk in school. They also see the media. So if your kids believe in Santa, then you need to bring this a little bit differently. And it's been a long time since I've had Santa discussions, but an idea could be to explain to them that maybe Santa has asked you this year to do something special by doing one special gift, or to help him. Maybe Santa has asked mom and dad, or dad, by helping him give to somebody else. Or maybe Santa got a smaller sleigh and he couldn't carry as many gifts. I know. I mean, the whole Santa thing's all made up. So, word it in a way that feels still like fun and exciting, think of a way that you can package it in a positive way. You're not going to say, well, Santa ran out of money and couldn't buy gifts, because that feels creates a feeling of scarcity. So you want to package it in a way that still feels exciting, and oh, we're doing something special to help Santa, or we're, so for those of you with little kids, I don't know if any of you have little kids, but see if that helps at all with that conversation. Now, for those of you who have celebrations who don't have anything to do with Santa or Saint Nicholas, like here in Holland, but do involve gifts, or your kids are older, make them part of the discussion. I mean, it does depend on the age, of course, but I just want to give you some ideas. And this goes for life in general too. And this is what I teach in my course, because kids need to be part of money conversations as well. Some, not all of them, but so you could say, well, this is how much money we have this year to spend on gifts. I see your list of things that you like how can we make this work? What's important for you? And then give them some choices. And if you make it feel a little bit like a game, or like a Monopoly game of life, or a puzzle, they'll get it. And make sure you do this from a place of strength. You're taking charge of your expenses here, and you're teaching your kids. Don't forget that. Because what are you teaching your kids otherwise? Right?
Yeah.
So that way, you can do this as a family, and you're going to feel so much better in January. You're not going to be stressed out to the max because now you're worried about how you're going to pay your visa bill. And that benefits everybody. Now, you have to decide what works best for your kids, as it depends on where things are right now with expectations and how old they are in your situation. And I get that you still want to keep that surprise aspect as well of opening the gifts, like Norma was saying, that it's the unwrapping the presents. There's fun in that as well. But when it comes to offering choices, think of experiences rather than things. Like we used to have a tradition to find the snow on Christmas Day. So we'd go up the mountain or wherever the snow was and go sledding or throwing snowballs, and then have hot chocolate and a treat, and we'd have a fantastic day. And like you were saying, Sarita, with the Starbucks and seeing the sun come up, that's magical. Or you can bake together or share cookies with people. And again, Google ideas of holidays, activities with kids, and I'm sure there's lots there. So again, not saying you can't do gifts. That's not the point. The point is taking back how you want the holidays to be and shaking off the expectations that we and our kids are brainwashed with. Okay? You are doing your kids a huge favor by teaching them healthier ways to relate to money and gifts, and not make it all about the stuff. Again, we're separating love from the stuff, and the sooner they learn that, the better. Okay? Really hope you can hear me on that. Now, last tip, unsubscribe. Somebody said in the chat that it's so exciting to see the emails, and yes, it is exciting. However, if you're like me and you've subscribed accidentally, or somehow you're ending up getting emails that from stores you don't even like, unsubscribe. Keep the ones that you really like. That's fine. If you want to see where the sales are at, and put the dopamine to your advantage. But otherwise, you're going to look at your computer and be exposed to things that aren't even that important for you from stores that you don't even really like. And it's going to have an impact on your brain. So these emails, they don't only clutter your inbox, but they also clutter your brain. I realize nowadays a lot of advertising comes through social media, and not sure how you can avoid that other than taking a step back from social media, but be aware, be aware. And lastly, moral of the story, yeah, Take your power back. That's what I want to get across. Take your power back by making decisions from a place of freedom, empowerment, and clarity. Clarity meaning knowing exactly where you're at financially and what's important to you and what you want to do. Shaking off the guilt and expectations, bringing in communication and understanding, and finding a solution that works for you and your family. Okay? It's like all I gave you here was just some ideas. If you're like, nah, that's not for me, then don't. Like, I'm not telling you that this is what you should do. I'm just giving you some ideas and I'm inviting you to rethink how you're looking at holiday spending. And I know we've already had Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but use it for Boxing Day and use it for the year ahead as well. And with that, are there any questions or ideas or anything that you want to share? Because, you know, we all have great ideas. So if you want to share anything, then please throw it in the chat. I'm just seeing Norma. My aunt shared with me many years ago that she would go shopping when she felt down, but she would leave things in her car trunk and then would return them. Yeah, exactly. And especially in North America, it's so easy to return things. I moved to Europe a couple of years ago and they don't like returns at all. It's not like North America. So yeah, make the most of that. The store owner still might not like it, but your credit card or your finances will. All right, so with that, that brings us to the end of the webinar. And I'm gonna give it back to
Lori.
Sarita. And before I stop, I want to wish you all the happiest of holidays and happy holiday shopping as well. Maybe I'll be with you in your head. And yeah, just have fun and spend time with family or your loved ones and go from there. Okay.
Thank you guys. We just have a few more things just before we close out. We want to tell you about some things that are up and coming for Be Strong Families. But first, we can't let you out of here without giving you an opportunity. If you are still looking for Christmas gifts, this is a very affordable Christmas gift. Lori, can you put us on the next slide? This is a really affordable Christmas gift that anybody can get. It's not a heavy lift. It's a great resource.
Keep
Uh,
going.
Mariska has a book, Untangling Your Relationship with Money. So please feel free to check out her book. I'm sure it's a great read. I plan to purchase it. So please check it out when you get a chance. You can use the QR code and scan it. It really is, it's from an expert who gave us some really great tips today. So if you're still looking for Christmas gifts, there's one. All right, next slide, Lori. And then I know we're going on break, but I want you to know that we are still doing cafes and the team is getting ready with another year of fantastic themes for your cafes for next year. So join us for the upcoming cafe series. You can go register now. Use the QR code to scan and register. We'd love to have you there. Next slide. And then if you have not, this is for your organizations, not for you personally, but for your organizations. Get them to pay for this training, okay? If you're looking for somebody, you're looking for a way to increase your father engagement, to get an idea of what dads want and how to get them more involved in your organization, you're going to want to sign up for this Institute workshop happening January 28th. It is a fee for that, but you can use the QR code to go register. It's not a lot at all. So, and it shouldn't stress you out. Get your job to pay for your professional development. Okay. All right. You can use the QR code. And then next, if you are looking for any of our speakers and teachers, Mariska is also on there. You can go there and find out how to get in touch with them. You can hit her up and she can come and do presentations for your organizations. You know, great way to partner with some great people who are doing great things and can teach us a whole lot of stuff. Next, Lori. And then lastly, if you are looking for Black Friday, there's still some, I think we still have a Black Friday sale. We have a lot of great stuff in the Be Strong Family shop. Go check it out because these are great gifts to give to your parents, the parents you serve, okay? For the holidays, if you're still looking for gifts. Questionable is off the chain. Lastly, if you love these webinars and you keep coming back every year, every month to the webinars, and also to support Be Strong Families in our Show Your Love campaign to grow our webinar series, feel free to give. Every donation is welcome. We don't turn our nose up at any donation. You can scan the QR code and you can be a blessing to Be Strong Families the way we've hopefully been a blessing to you. And with that, I am going to say thank you again, Mariska, for gracing us with your wisdom and your experience and these great, great things. Look, I wrote down so many notes. Thank you for this. This is going to get me through the rest of the holiday season. And guys, I hope to see you back in January. Thank you so much and happy holidays to everybody. Thank you, Lori, for all your great tech, and thank you, Mariska, for being here.
Thanks, Rita.
See you guys in 2024.